Welcome to the JAR Nation JA in a Day volunteer resource video. During the first session, students examine how the free market system serves businesses and careers. Post the Junior Achievement banner and pass out the table tents, session flyers, and greet the students. Share your name, your job, and why you are a JA volunteer. Use the volunteer guide talking points to introduce the idea that people and businesses in our nation enjoy many freedoms, such as choosing a job or starting a business. Ask the students to name some successful businesses or the people who started them. You may also want to share local examples or use some of the suggestions in your guide. As you present the new vocabulary for this session, have the students highlight the key terms in their flyers. Ask for student volunteers to help you define each word. Explain to students that when a free market economy is doing well, there is a lot of buying and selling. When it is not, buying and selling slows down. Encourage students to name a few things they or their families recently bought at a store. Then use the talking points in your guide to transition to the first activity. Share with students they will now experience how pricing affects consumers' buying decisions. Introduce the competition flashcard, then distribute one sticky note per student to kick off the activity. First, review the instructions with the students. Explain that they will take one item from their desk, such as a pencil, textbook, lanyard, ruler, or pencil case, and place them on their desktops. They are to think about the value of the item. How would they price the item if they were to put them up for sale? Decide on a price for the item and secretly write it on the sticky note. When all students have set their prices, ask them to display their items with the price next to each item. Invite students to walk around the room and check out the prices. Have them make a mental note or write on a scrap of paper what product they would buy based on its price. Tell them to be ready to explain why they would buy some items and not others. After a couple minutes, have students return to their desks. As a class, discuss the items for sale, the quantity, and the prices. List the items and their values on the board. Lead a brief discussion using the questions listed in your guide. As you wrap up session 1, ask students to place their flyers in their desks. Display the resources and STEM skills posters as you transition to Session 2. Distribute the Session 2 flyers and display the Entrepreneur and Entrepreneurship Kit or digital vocabulary flashcards and engage the students in helping to define the terms. Have students highlight the key terms in their flyers. Ask students to think of a few words that might describe an entrepreneur in their community and offer a few other characteristics they don't mention. If you are an entrepreneur, consider sharing with the students why you decided to become one and describe the type of good or service you sell. Tell students that a free market system encourages entrepreneurship. Use your guide to explain the connection and define the key terms. You may wish to use the vocabulary cards or digital assets and point to the resources poster for visual examples of these words. To demonstrate how businesses make choices every day based on resource needs, hold up a pencil. Tell the students there are many resources that go into making this simple product. With the class, identify the different resources needed to make a pencil, including natural, capital, and human resources. Emphasize that entrepreneurs often assemble a creative team whose members have different knowledge and skills to develop and market a product or a service. Point out skills on the STEM skills poster. Let students know they will now put on their entrepreneur caps and think of ways to improve some everyday items. Divide students into groups of 4 and give each group an Our Innovation Nation topic card. Allow a few minutes for each group to read the card and develop a plan to improve the product or service listed. Instruct students to answer the questions on the cover of their flyers. Then, give students 8 to 10 minutes to work and sketch a design for their new product on page 2 of their flyers. Call time, thank the students for their work, and have them place their flyers inside their desks. At this point, you'll have been teaching for more than an hour, so it may be a good time for a stretch break. Ask students or the teacher if a short 5-minute break would be helpful. Allow students to stand beside their desk to move and stretch. As you move to session 3, tell students that now they're going to discuss careers apart from entrepreneurship and the skills needed for them. Use the vocabulary flashcards, either digital or the ones from your kit, to introduce the new vocabulary for this session. Refer to the STEM skills poster and share examples of how technology is used in your workplace. Explain that technology has fundamentally changed the way most businesses operate. Share that students should consider their personal skills and interests and the types of careers that match their interests. Ask students to turn to a neighbor and briefly share the things they like to do. While students talk, fold the career cluster trading cards in half and place them around the classroom. Then direct the students' attention back to you. Ask students to count the number of cluster titles on the page, then present the career cluster trading cards.
All of these cards answer questions that are on this page.
Hold up one of the cards you placed around the room and read aloud the career cluster title and information on the card. Each card contains information on 2 career clusters. Tell students they will now go on a career quest to discover more about careers. For this activity, divide the students into groups of 3 to 4 students each and explain the activity steps to the class. Each group will walk with their flyers and a pencil in hand to the card closest to them. Read the career cluster title and information from the card. Answer the corresponding career cluster questions found on page 3 of their flyers. Go to other cards to answer additional questions. As an alternative, you can have student groups remain seated and trade their career cluster cards rather than have them move around the room. Allow about 10 minutes for students to complete the activity. You and the teacher can circulate as the students work to ensure they stay on task. Review the answers and debrief with the questions listed in your guide. Distribute the career ID bookmarks and have the students fill them in. Transition to session 4 by letting students know that next they will think like job applicants and examine important work readiness skills. Introduce the new vocabulary for this session and have students highlight the key terms in their flyers as you present them. Ask students if they have siblings or friends who work a job. Use the questions in your guide to engage students in a conversation. Tell the students that a job seeker must have certain skills, education, or training. People who are looking for jobs become employees when they are hired. An employer is looking to hire employees. Now students are ready to play a board game that will introduce work readiness skills needed in most jobs. Divide the students into groups of 4, but then share the game directions before you pass out the game packets to each group. The goal of the Get and Keep the Job game is to collect as many work readiness skills points as possible. Place the game pieces on the start space. Stack the Get and Keep the Job game cards on the board. Take turns rolling the die. The player who rolls the highest number starts play. Move your game piece the number of spaces shown on the die. Record the skills and points gained on page 2 of your flyer. Follow the directions when you land on a pick a card space. Now pass out the game packets and allow about 8 to 10 minutes for play. Check that students have gone around the board at least once. Call time and have the students add up their points. The player in each group who collected the most skill points wins. Debrief the session using the review questions provided. Now may be a good time to take another 5-minute break to allow students to stand and stretch. Before moving on, take 2 or 3 minutes to review what students have learned so far today, and tell them the last topic of the day will be about global trade and how it connects our nation with businesses around the world. Distribute the session flyers and use your guide to introduce the global marketplace and begin introducing the new vocabulary. If your job requires you to work with people in diverse locations or to buy products or services from other countries, consider sharing a story about your experiences. Let the class know that businesses in regions and nations became interdependent as they reach customers in ever-expanding markets. Explain that electronic buying and selling over the internet, or e-commerce, has helped businesses grow and profit. Ask students to open their flyers to the world map inside. Read aloud the statements listed in your guide. Have students find the countries you mention on their maps and draw a line or shipping route from the country to the United States. For example, you might say, "The global market is experienced by just about everyone in our nation. We may eat raspberries that have been harvested in Chile." Have students find Chile on the world map and draw a line to the United States. Use the talking points in your guide to explain how businesses specialize and how this connects to the global marketplace. Let students know they'll now get to solve a mystery using the mystery puzzle card sheets. Students will assemble one of 6 products to learn how nations specialize in certain resources and how this exchange results in a product. Before distributing the puzzle card sheet, review the activity instructions. Hold up the front of the 6 mystery puzzle card sheets for students to see. Be sure to show only the front of the cards. Tell students that each sheet illustrates a single product that uses resources from 6 countries. Separate the mystery puzzle card sheets and drop the cards into a bag or box. Students will pull out one card, or you may simply hand each student a card. Tell students that on your cue, they are to walk around the room and search for other students who have a puzzle piece that they think matches their own. Important tip: all cards from the mystery puzzle card sheet must be handed out to the students. For a class of 24, use 4 card sheets. For a class of 30, use 5 card sheets. If you have 26 students, you'll need to have 1 or 2 students pick out 2 cards each. When ready, say, "Ready, set, go." You and the teacher should monitor as students seek out classmates with a piece of their product. Once students discover their product, have them stay in their groups and discuss the many resources and countries needed to produce that product. Have groups appoint a spokesperson who will share with the class that group's product and the resources and countries involved in making it. The mystery products are chocolate bar, fruit basket, computer tablet, car, toaster, and backpack. Have students return to their seats and debrief the session with the questions provided. Thank the students for their good work, and if time permits, ask them to share with you what they learned and most enjoyed about today. Tell the class they are now ready for graduation. Distribute the Certificates of Achievement and the JAR Nation STEM wristbands, shaking each student's hand and encouraging them to continue to do well in school. The wristband contains a URL where students can go to learn more about STEM jobs and skills. You can leave any extra materials with your teacher or return them to the JA office. We hope that you enjoyed your J in a Day experience and will participate again in the future. Please share your feedback by completing the online survey referenced in your volunteer guide. Thank you for being a Junior Achievement volunteer.